The following is a presentation of the Eagles Sports Network.
Yes, really interesting team. They played this past Thursday, and so a league game, which means that they were putting a lot into it, and they did put a lot into it, and they won, and won pretty impressively the way they won, but we were expecting to see a whole lot of option, and because they've been an option football team, but there wasn't much option. It was mostly a lot of different looks, a lot of different formations, motions, a lot of about every play known to man. They ran, and then same thing defensively. We were expecting them to be in a 50 front, but they were in a 50 stack. They were in a 3-3 stack. They were in a 4-2. They were in a 4-3. They were in a gap stack. They were in anything that I've ever heard about, just about. And how they got ready to do all that is an amazing compliment and tribute to them as a coaching staff, because they got all that ready for a first ball game, and they won the game. So we don't know what we're going to see. We really don't.
So does that mean them playing has made it more difficult to prepare for?
It has. Even though what they line up in won't surprise us, because they probably already have lined up in it, but we just don't know what's going to be their main theme of this ball game, about what they're going to do offensively and defensively. And I'm sure when they look and see how many people, how we struggled a few times last year to stop people, and now we got a bunch of people gone off of that. Our leading tackler, who's really, we're going to miss him. I won't mention his name, but I think it was Eric something. And yeah, y'all don't recognize? Okay. But anyway, to have a relatively young team, inexperienced team, with all the different looks they gave, it creates some interesting situations for us.
Offensively, how much of that chaos, I guess, is enabled by the fact that they have Adam Craig as their quarterback?
Well, the fact that he led them to the national championship 3 years ago, I guess, and then he got hurt, and now he's back this year. He's their leader. There's no question about it. And they got some skilled people. They got some speed. I think he maybe is the conference, the wide receiver is a conference sprint champion, and he can run with anybody. And so we've got to figure out some way to get some pressure on the quarterback, because they like to drop back there and hum it deep every once in a while to him. And he caught 2 for touchdowns, long passes, and ran a kickoff back for a touchdown. So, he's a real deal, and they want the ball in his hands somehow, and we've got to try to figure out how to get him on the ground.
Talk about generating pressure on the quarterback, showtime for that youthful defensive line. What do you like about where they are in this first game?
Well, I think they're going to be exciting. I really do. I think we still got 2 or 3 of them hurt. 1 or 2 of them's not going to play, which is hurtful. We're definitely going to miss Hayden Hester. He's not going to be able to play. He's got a bad hurt right now, and Jason Cook Calhoun may not play because of hamstring. And both of them are brand new freshmen that are exciting players that we may not get to see tomorrow night, or not Thursday night. And so we got some really exciting kids. It's going to be fun to watch, to see what they do. I'm going to be stretching my neck as much as anybody to see what they're doing.
On the opposite side, you have very experienced defensive backfield. How does having that experience back there help the front seven?
Oh, I think it's key, because if there's any place where you'd like to have experienced people that's been there, done that, and seen this and seen that, would be in the secondary. But at the same time, everything starts up the front. In offense, it starts up front. Defense, it starts up front. But if those guys aren't getting pressure on the passer, then it's hard. It's hard to cover people forever. Same thing with offensive line. If they're not protecting the passer, then they don't take much to cover them, your receivers. And so it all starts up front. And that's the reason that front four is going to be so critical for us on defense. And on offense, we got about 5 or 6 that can play, and we can't get any of them hurt. And we're thin.
Kicker, punter, been question marks throughout the fall. What do you expect from those position groups this week?
Well, I'm going to act like they can do it, and then I'm going to cut their throat if they don't. How's that? But no, I think Ben Ogle and Carson Wise have battled really well as place kickers, and we got a couple of kickoffs better than anything we ever had last year, with over 4.4 hang time, and in the end zone, and that's wonderful. And we gave them 3 or 4 days off to rest, and for a kicker or a sore arm pitcher, you got to get those limbs rested up. And so they were a different looking group yesterday. And as a punter, we still got 3, and I'll decide today which one it's going to be. But we got 3 guys that are battling like crazy to be the punter, and one of them is Christian Ramirez, and I think he's probably got a little bit of edge right now, and we'll find out again today. And the biggest thing is getting it off on time and getting hang time and consistency. And right now we've had pretty good everything except consistency. We'll look great for 3, and then 1 we'll look like a backyard, Eric Kane punting. So and that's not very good.
Right. Offensively, I know the running back position is somewhat new there, but offensive line, a lot of experience. Obviously, a quarterback, a lot of experience there. Can you remember a time where you've been as comfortable maybe with those 2 position groups heading into a season?
Well, we're really excited about it. We've had great leadership at quarterback, and we're thin at quarterback. If DeAndre and Noah have a problem, and of course we got Goose that can always make something happen. But we're thin, and so it's scary because there's been years past around here that we went to number 4 or 5 quarterback. And this year we don't have a 4 or 5 quarterback, and so so that's a little bit scary. Yeah, absolutely. The fact that plus it gives them I gotta get you talking English, but anyway, it's not your talking, it's my listening. I'm not hearing very good. But I think, when you stop to evaluate, does them playing the game give them advantage or giving us advantage? And I've always said, and we've always said, Eric's heard me say it 100 times, that probably the most improvement of the year is between first and second ball game. And I think statistically that bears out pretty clear. So they should have a tremendous advantage in that perspective. We got a little bit of an advantage in the fact that I don't know what advantage we got, except that it gave us a little bit more time to prepare maybe than they did. And but like I say earlier, it's unbelievable what all they got put in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, ever how long preseason camp they had. In NAIA, I don't know, they may have 4 weeks, but it was unbelievable what all they showed against the Cumberlands. Against Campbellsville. And so I don't know. I don't know whether to count it a blessing or a curse at the fact that they played first ball game before they play us.
Coach, back on the defensive side of the ball, you
Lane Bloom.
Lane Bloom. Have either one of those guys stepped up to that spot or solidified themselves?
Well, that's a great group of kids, and they give you great effort. Of course, Graham's been hurt and missed quite a bit. Lane has been lame a little bit. Has been playing with one wing, so he's struggling a little bit. And but we got a guy named, I don't remember his first name, Morris is his last name. It just got here. Darius Morris. That really looks good. And and then we had one that, a Sam linebacker, that the Henderson kid, Antonio Henderson, that we thought was going to be eligible, but the NCAA has thrown out his test score, and so he's not eligible at this time. And so it really has, it's put some question marks at linebacker. And linebacker, except for Shaheem and Malik, it's brand new too. Lane played a little bit on kicking game. In fact, he played really well on kicking game last year. But those other guys that from the line of scrimmage, from snaps from the line of scrimmage, haven't played any. And so it's we're really inexperienced at linebacker too. I wish with a real new front four that we had experienced linebackers behind them, but that's not the case. And so, and you know how that is when you're a linebacker. That those guys up front make you a lot better linebacker. And so, I don't know. I just hope that it's going to be a great event for us Thursday night, that we got a front seven that's come alive, going crazy. I hope.
You talk about Lane leading the kicking game. You have had success of elevating that special teams star, that leading tackler, and Eric King, for instance, to a prominent role within the linebacking corps. Does that knowledge that Malik Miles, Brandon State, and Lane Bloom have all factored prominently on kickoffs, does that assuage your concerns at all?
Yes, it helps to know that they have played game speed in open space and made plays. And that's what defense is nowadays, is making plays in open space. And so, yes, that does help our mental attitude a little bit. But still, sometimes defense comes down to hand-to-hand combat, where you got to throw some punches, get people off of you, and make plays. And I think that's the part that is a question, especially when we don't know what we're going to face. We don't know if they're going to come at us, or they're going to try to come around us, or whether they're going to try to go over us. And so that makes it a little bit more complicated, to see how all that's going to play out.
Defensively for the Patriots, you talked about how multiple they were. Is there an individual that stands out to you?
Defensively? Got a big old defensive tackle that's about 390 pounds. He's not that big, but he looks that big. And got some really tough kids up front. Got a linebacker that made a lot of tackles against Campbellsville. I can't come up with Campbellsville. But anyway, and made a lot of plays against them. Campbellsville threw the ball 80% of the time against them, and they got some sacks. They got some movement up front. They got 2 picks, I think, and so you have to say that for the first ball game that they performed pretty well on somebody else's home field, not theirs. And so you'll have to take your hat off to them and say, good job.
Anything else?
Oh.
Ask me one more question so I can show you I can understand what you're saying.
Talking about playing for Kathleen Graham.
What's it mean to play for Kathleen Graham this week?
Well, it means a whole lot. It's about as exciting as anything we've done in a long time, just because of the kind of lady that she is and the investment that she's made in a lot of people's lives without knowing it, without saying, okay, I'm going to try to encourage you, I'm going to try to make a difference in your life. But she's the kind of lady that, it's like it's like Jesus talked about so many times about people that didn't seem like they had big roles in life, but they impacted this world. And that's, to me, that's Kathleen Graham, exactly, because her little quiet spirit and her little dependence on the Lord that shows up. That's not little, that's big. But that shows up in the way her mannerisms and the way she deals with people. It's great that we get to draw attention to somebody like her, and because I think I think that's what the Lord wants us to do, and so I'm glad to be a small part of it, and I'm the recipient of her blessing. That's what I am, and so I'm grateful to just try to be a blessing back to her in some way.